Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and I got another awesome video because now I'm actually going to be talking about the situation with PlayStation and the huge backlash that they're receiving, and rightfully so. So I'm a little bit late on this topic because I've been talking mostly about Grand Theft Auto and all that, but it's time to talk about PlayStation and how they, well, right after GTA 6, basically confirms that the game is going to be all digital, it's just going to be a code on the box. That's when PlayStation felt it safe to announce that they are getting rid of all physical media by the year of 2028, which is probably the same year that they are going to launch their stupid PlayStation 6 console, which makes a lot of sense because, well, let's just face it, guys, PlayStation has not been doing well financially. I know people are delusional and they're like, well, they said they're doing well. They said that the PS5 is their most profitable system ever and that they're making great profits. They're making great revenue. All right. If that was the case, they wouldn't have to be laying off thousands of workers, shutting down multiple studios. I think they've shut down 10 studios or more this generation. And then look at all the games that they have canceled as well. So, yeah, they're not really doing well financially, okay? If they were, they wouldn't have to be doing any of that shit. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Nintendo, they just bumped up the salary for all employees. So that kind of tells you who the market leader is, right? The one who's actually making lots of video games. The one who's got the highest profit margins of all of them. The one who's, who could still manage to make their systems affordable to the average consumer, and the one that is not shutting down studios, laying off employees the way PlayStation is doing. Instead, they're doing the opposite. They're actually taking care of their workers and they're giving them pay raises. And of course, some of you virtue signalers who pretend to care about, these game developers, clearly you don't, because you're not praising Nintendo for the fact that they've been doing such a stellar job of taking care of their employees. You get mad whenever Nintendo charges high price for the video games that these workers work so hard to make for you guys. So it shows you're all full of shit. But that being said, yeah, Nintendo, they are the market leader. PlayStation is not. And now we see that PlayStation is going all digital. And the reason for this is because they have engaged in this very stupid graphical rat race with Xbox, trying to make the most powerful system, trying to have the best looking games. That was their focus ever since the PlayStation 3. That's been their MO, right? Is to have the most powerful, most appealing console, and look where it's gotten them now. They are losing money on every system sold. They're having to jack up the prices so they're not losing as much money. And they probably realize that the PlayStation 6 is not going to sell well at all if it's over $1,000. So the way to mitigate this would be to make the cheapest possible version of the PlayStation 6. And how do you do that? Well, you get rid of the disk drive. Right now, the PlayStation 5, the digital version of the PlayStation 5, that's their cheapest model. And I think that's the model that still sells the best in Japan. Of course, all models are selling like shit over there, but that's the one selling better than, the PlayStation 5 Pro and the regular PlayStation because it's the cheapest model. So that's their strategy, is to make the cheapest possible model to sell people if they're going to have any chance of selling a decent amount of PlayStation 6 units come 2028. And I say 2028 because it seems like that would be the year that they release it, because that is the year that they're not going to have any physical media anymore. So it all pretty much makes sense with the timing and why that's going to be the year that we don't see any physical media with the PlayStation anymore. And it's going to be interesting to see what other, shenanigans they pull to try to make that system as affordable as possible, not including a controller with it, not including other things that would be essential. Remember, they did say that the PlayStation 6 was going to be a hybrid, just like the Nintendo Switch, right? It's going to be a hybrid. You could take it with you wherever you want to go. I don't know if they're still going to do that. And if they are going to do that, is the power of the PlayStation 6 going to basically be on par with the PlayStation 5 or the digital PlayStation 5? I don't know if the digital PlayStation 5 is weaker than the regular or if it's about the same, but regardless, is that going to be what they do with the PlayStation 6. They're just going to make it not as powerful. It'll just be exactly like the PlayStation 5, but only this time it's going to be a hybrid. Because again, I'm trying to think, what are they going to do to make this system as affordable as they possibly can? If they make it a hybrid and they make it more powerful, it's going to cost a lot still, even without that disk drive. And I'm trying to figure out what would be the perfect price point for them to either make a small profit or to at least not lose too much money off of each system sold. And I would think maybe $800 to $900, because they probably just really do not want to make it $1,000. But then again, this is going to be in 2028. That's a couple years from now. So they might assume, hey, maybe people will be fine with spending that money a couple years from now. They have all the time to, save up for it. But, that would be a very stupid assumption on their part. Now, here's the thing. I believe most of their systems is losing money per purchase, but it is usually the software that kind of makes up for that loss, right? So, it's the software that is being bought for that system that ends up, profiting for them. Only problem is we've been seeing people not buy their first-party titles. They only really buy their third-party games, and that's about it. As far as their first-party titles go, people have not been buying them. Just look at, what was that game that came out recently, Soros? That game, nobody is buying that game whatsoever. I don't think it's even come close to hitting 1 million sales yet. Even Ghost of Yotei, it sold maybe a couple million, and that was it. Nobody ever bothered with that game again. Their game of the year in 2024, Astrobot, nobody really bought that shit. Despite being bundled with the PS5 and winning the Game of the Year award, it only managed to muster about like 2 million copies sold. So I don't think that strategy of just relying on software to, make enough profit for each system sold is really working anymore. And so they're going to have to try to make it to where each system they're selling is making some profit. But again, I don't know. I don't know if that's what they're going to do or what their strategy is going to be. All I know is they're pretty much fucked. They screwed themselves over by engaging in this, graphical rat race against Xbox, this race for power. And this is the situation they're in now. They're pretty much stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I think it's pretty funny. I think it's glorious to see that. So right now, Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, they've won the generation by default, because they're still in reach of the average consumer, and a lot of enthusiasts out there will definitely purchase this system, especially when we get the new 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, Ocarina of Time might end up, being that big system seller. There's also Super Smash Bros. That's definitely going to sell units as well. PlayStation's big great hope right now, of course, is Grand Theft Auto 6. That's their big great hope, and of course there's a lot going on right now with Grand Theft Auto 6. I've made several videos about it and how they're basically just, screwing over their own stupid fans because they know they could get away with it. They're charging $80 for an incomplete version, knowing damn well that people aren't going to get that one. They're going to get the $100 version that is basically just a complete edition, but people are going to be stupid enough to think that it's an ultimate edition when it really isn't. Another thing we have to take into consideration is the fact that it probably cost them a lot to put their games on, physical media, putting them on discs and whatnot. That costs a lot in and of itself. They make more money if the game sells digitally. So that's another reason they're going all digital by 2028. And of course, you got a lot of clowns saying Nintendo's going to follow suit. Well, that's funny because Nintendo never really follows suit whenever PlayStation and Xbox decide to do something. But somehow you morons always want to say that they're going to do that. It's like whenever PlayStation and Xbox do something that is like really stupid and bad for business, or something that's, seen as anti-consumer, well, just watch, Nintendo will do it too. But funny how Nintendo didn't, they didn't go for power. They didn't engage in the graphical rat race or whatever. They didn't do that. They didn't, only with the Wii and the Wii U, yeah, they had discs. But before that, it was like tiny discs on the GameCube, cartridges on the N64. Like Nintendo was always doing their own thing and not following suit, not copying off of what PlayStation and Xbox were doing. But stupid people, every time PlayStation does something bad or does something that's negative, watch, Nintendo's going to do the same thing. Like, shut the fuck up. You're just coping. You're a loser. And you just want people not to buy a Nintendo console, so you got to sit there and pretend like Nintendo's going to follow suit when Nintendo never does that. Oh, did Nintendo start putting their games on PlayStation and Xbox during the Wii U when they were struggling financially? Nope, they didn't do that. But you know who did put their games on other systems? PlayStation and Xbox. And of course, morons, when they make these predictions, they're like, watch, it's going to happen like 10 years from now. It's like, okay, yeah, it's easy to make that kind of prediction and say that's going to happen in the next 10 years, because where are you going to be in the next 10 years when it doesn't happen? Yeah, you're not going to show your face, or you're going to hope that we forgot you said that. So just shut the hell up. But another reason it makes sense they're going all digital is because how are you going to make a hybrid PlayStation 6 that is also going to be able to play physical media? Because again, that only works with the Nintendo Switch because, you're playing on these tiny cartridges, right? Are they going to make a big handheld that you stick an entire disc inside of? It's possible, I guess, but I don't know. I don't think that's what they want to do. So, and it's also going to be funny, like, is there going to be any way to play your PlayStation 5 games on your PlayStation 6 if it's all digital? Obviously not. Obviously not. You'd have to, have your own PlayStation store opened up and whatnot. And we just saw, just recently, that PlayStation deleted and erased 500 movies from their library or whatever, from their stores. So people who had these movies or whatever, I think this happened in the UK, basically lost access to all of these movies. Again, 500 movies that PlayStation just completely wiped out and got rid of. So, yeah, it's kind of funny how they would do that and then immediately announce, oh, by the way, we're going all digital. It's like, yeah, that was really smart. That was perfect timing. But I think they had to make this announcement because, GTA 6 is going to be just a digital code in a box. So PlayStation's like, okay, this might be our best time to make this announcement. But at the same time, it's kind of funny how they would do that right after, they did all this shit with 500 different movies and just getting rid of 500 different movies like that. So, yeah, that piss poor timing, and they're receiving a massive backlash, and I think it's absolutely glorious. And anybody picking up a PlayStation 5 anytime soon is a fucking moron. They were morons to begin with for buying the PlayStation 5. There was never a good reason to buy that system. There was never a good reason to buy the Pro. But you had so many dumbasses do it. You had idiots on YouTube do it because, oh, my YouTube channel, I gotta buy all this stuff because it's my job. It's like, get a real job, you piece of shit. Get a real fucking job. But anyways, I think that's all I have regarding PlayStation and physical media. That's what I believe what is going on here. They put themselves in a really tough place, and they're not doing well financially. They want their next system to be somewhat profitable, so they have to do these things in order to make it to where it's not going to be too expensive. But it probably still will end up being too expensive, Like, if they make it $800 to $900 and it's a hybrid and it's all digital, like, will that be enough? Will that be enough? Or, because, again, that's still expensive. Many people probably aren't going to shell out money for that. So it's like, I'm just wondering, like, how much would they have to price this thing in order for it to be profitable or in order to not lose too much money? You guys let me know in the comments below. I will talk to you all later. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe if you're new here, and leave as many comments as possible, and I will get back to each and every single one of you guys as soon as possible. So take care and have a good day.